Hola, bienvenidos al repaso de Español 3, vodcast preliminar 1.2 de Apollo High School. Welcome, I'm Miss Danius, and this is your second vodcast reviewing for Spanish 3 of this school year. The metas de aprendizaje in this vodcast, we are going to be reviewing the uses of the verbs that mean to be in Spanish, both ser and estar, as well as looking at the present tense forms of these two verbs and both past tenses, the preterite and the imperfect. Finally, we will be doing a brief review of how we use gustar and verbs like gustar that use that indirect object pronoun in Spanish. So starting with ser. Uses of ser, we want to talk about nationality. Elena es mexicana. Origin, Pablo es de El Salvador. Profession or your occupation, soy profesora. Characteristics, ella es alta y él es fuerte. Generalizations, relaciones son complicadas. Possession or ownership, el libro es de Jorge. What something is made of, la blusa es de seda. And finally, our time date es lunes, es el 9 de septiembre, son las 2 de la tarde. Remember, at any time you may stop this podcast to write down notes. And don't forget also to rewind if needed and to listen again. Moving on to a star. We use a star when we want to talk about the location of something. El libro está en mi mochila. Also, when we want to talk about a person's general health. Paco está enfermo hoy. Physical states of things. Las ventanas están sucias. And those conditions. Emotional states. Los chicos están asustados. Some weather expressions, like está nublado hoy. And those ongoing actions, which we call the present progressive. Estás escuchando a la profesora. All right, so here we go with the forms. We saw a few of them. Here are your present tense forms of ser and estar. I'll go through one at a time. Soy, eres, es. Somos, sois, son. Estar, estoy, estás, está. Estamos, estáis, están. Now moving on to the preterite. Ayer, ser and estar. Fui, fuiste, fue. Fuimos, fuisteis, fueron. Estar. Estuve, estuviste, estuvo. Estuvimos, estuvisteis, estuvieron. And finally, the imperfect, that when we're talking about repetitive things, things we did as a child many times. Ser, we have era, eras, era, éramos, erais, eran, and estar. Estaba, estabas, estaba, estábamos, estabais, estaban. Make sure that you are also noting where there are accents in each of these different forms. Present and imperfect. Preterite has no accents. Again, be sure that you are stopping to take notes as you need to. We are going to move on to gustar and similar verbs. Why are we taking the time? Because gustar is a little bit different. We always say it means I like, he likes, but truly it doesn't mean that. We use gustar with indirect pronouns to tell what pleases people. So that indirect pronoun goes before the conjugative verb and is followed then by a noun that is indicating the thing that pleases the person or people. So if I want to say in Spanish, I like chocolate, me gusta el chocolate, which would literally be translated as chocolate is pleasing to me. She likes cats, le gustan los gatos. Again, that would be cats are pleasing to her. And notice that I put a ella at the end. We can use that if we need to distinguish between who we're talking about, if we might be talking about more than one person, but it is not required. So there are some other verbs like gustar that I'm going to give you, and I've given you examples on how we use them. I'm going to say them as the way that we would say them in English, not the literal translation. So aburrir, le aburren los documentos a José. José's bored by the documents. Encantar, nos encanta mirar películas. We love watching movies. Faltar. Me falta energía para correr. I don't have the energy to run. Fascinar. ¿Te fascinan los grupos de pop? Are you fascinated by pop groups? Importar. A Teresa le importa mucho su familia. Teresa's family is very important to her. That one's a little bit tougher. Interesar. Me interesan los libros de gastronomía. I'm very interested in books about cooking or cookbooks. Molestar. A Julia le molesta mucho el despertador. Julia is annoyed a lot by her alarm clock. Quedar. Nos quedan $10. We have $10 left. All right, this ends the second vodcast. Make sure that you are answering the Google Forms that you'll find right below this vodcast. Also, make sure that you are writing down any questions that you have, and we will go over them in class. Gracias.